It's me, your buddy James, and I'm back with another Seiko dive watch. I know, but don't touch that mouse. This one's something different. Announced into a Baselworld Free 2020, this is a 4-watch addition to Seiko's historically minded SPB lineup. It's the brand new Seiko SPB 143. With 200 meters water resistance, plenty of lume, and an uncommon bezel implementation, it's a vintage effect dive watch that also happens to be smaller than what we've come to expect from the do-it-all Japanese watch brand. For this new model and its siblings, we get an SPB family and a model range of 143, an SPB 145, which has like a brown-green dial, the SPB 147, which is brown with gilt accents, and finally, we have the limited edition SPB 149, which has a really pretty blue dial with a little bit of gold for the accents. Typically, the SPB line sits above the SKX and the SRPs and a lot of other Seiko lines as sort of a premium offering within the prospect space before you get to the really high-end stuff. It's a great middle ground in terms of value, and the idea here is that you spend a bit more money, but you get more refinement and a more complete package. Like many of you, the bread and butter of my watch enthusiasm is deeply rooted in Seiko's dive watches. And now, a decade after buying my first SKX 779, it's hard to replicate the buzz of cracking open that simple box to a fresh new Seiko. But the question remains, with something like the SPB 143, is more money more better? While I love the idea of a more refined and advanced take on a Seiko dive watch and would happily pay more for the execution, the past SPB models have never sat that well on my 7-inch wrist and often had some styling elements that didn't suit my tastes. I wanted something a little bit more stoic, a little bit more simple, and a little bit more classic. And that's where these new Seikos really shine. In wanting more, what I really wanted was less. And they're 40.5 millimeters wide, 13.7 millimeters thick, and just 46.5 millimeters lug to lug. For me, those three numbers made the SPB 143 one of the biggest announcements of 2020. With a 60 skin diver format, the SPB 143 has Seiko's DiaShield case hardening, drilled lugs, a solid steel case back, a sapphire crystal with an anti-reflective coating, tons of lume, a date at 3, and a really gorgeous sunburst gray dial. Perhaps the most odd element is actually the bezel, which uses a tight and mechanical 120-click action and has a great grip, but uses a stainless steel insert. That's right, it's not aluminum or ceramic like you'd expect from most watches, but rather stainless steel that's been treated to Seiko's hardening and a black finish. Only time will tell how this will wear, but I like my steel bezels with scratches, so I wouldn't be that worried about it. Underneath all of this stainless steel, we find Seiko's 6R35 movement. Another great movement for a Seiko daily driver, the 6R35 is an automatic movement with hacking and hand winding, along with a date, 70 hours of power reserve, and a rate of 3 Hz. At this price point, you'd want nothing less from Seiko. While I typically wear my watches on straps or NATOs, I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of the bracelet offered with the SPB 143. With simple finishing, the solid and captive end links and chunky clasp feel a lot more sturdy than the bracelets I'm used to seeing on less expensive offerings from Seiko. This one feels nicely made, decently suited to the case, and has both micro adjust and a fold-out wetsuit extension. It wears flat but with enough heft to remind you that it's a dive watch, and the case thickness absolutely wears thinner than the 13.7 millimeters might suggest. Even on a NATO, which is how I prefer to wear it, it feels so good. Furthermore, and not unlike the bracelet, both of the two main touch points, the crown and the bezel, both feel much more refined than I've come to expect from more entry-level product from Seiko. On wrist, the SPB 143 is nothing short of the Seiko diver I've been searching for. It draws just enough inspiration from the 62 mass, and if you're the type that really loved the gorgeous SLA 017 but didn't want to shell out 4K for that lovely limited edition watch, this watch should definitely be on your radar. With an MSRP of $1,200 for the SPB 143 and 145, both on a bracelet, $1,000 for the SPB 147 on a rubber strap, and $1,350 for the 5,500 unit limited edition SPB 149, this may feel like a big jump up in price from your normal SKXs and SRPs. But if, like me, you've been around the block with all the SKXs and all the SRPs and a bunch of other stuff, I don't think you're going to have a problem with the price because you're just getting more for your money. You pay a bit more and you get a bit more. It's certainly a simple, even arguably routine design in general, and while the SPB143 may not have the bold character of the Safarni or even the Willard, it really nails what I want from a daily driver dive watch. It's a great size, feels a bit vintage, and rocks on just about any strap. In many ways, I think this is the Seiko dive watch for folks that have been around the block with all sorts of dive watches and want that Seiko buzz in a more refined package.